Hi, I'm Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. Today I have a very special show. I have Kim Copel and Lisa Bommarito.
That's right.
And we are celebrating a thing that's coming up. It's a play, and it's by Cobweb Palace Productions, and that's y'all?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love it. And it's in the Genoa's historic town hall.
Yes.
And the name of the play is Women of the Wild West.
It is. It's going to be wild, too.
Uh-oh. And you two play some women, and it's an original comedy drama in 2 acts.
Yes, it is.
And also, it benefits the town of Genoa. It's one of the things on your flyer.
Yes, in part it does. So we're very excited about bringing business and people to Genoa so that they can see a little bit of the old west of Genoa, too.
Well, I absolutely love Genoa. I just drove down through there on Tuesday to look at the deer. I love the deer. But it's coming up February 1st and 2nd at 7 p.m.
Yes.
And you have no-host cocktails.
Yes, and the doors will open an hour beforehand, and people can come in and enjoy a no-host bar. We'll have appetizers prepared by different restaurants in town and food services in town. And we'll also have the amazing Madam Sandy fortune-telling during that time.
I know. I was looking at the poster, and I thought, who could that be? Then I called up Sandy to talk about her show, and she said, that's me. Sandy Lene. She had her on our show last week, and she's had up to about 80 hits already on the YouTube.
Oh, great.
So
great.
proud of her. And you're also going to be February 3rd at 2 p.m.
Yes.
And did you decide to let us come and tape this, by the way?
Well, that's something that we would need to talk to Lisa about.
Okay.
Because Lisa does have a background in theater.
Well, we love taping plays.
And I can't comment on that because I don't know how that works, but she has experience with that sort of thing, so we can talk to her about that. And
Well, there's no swearing.
No,
this is public access.
Not that you would know of.
And the characters you're playing are Eiley Bowers. That Lisa
Yes,
plays.
I'm playing Eiley.
And Kim plays Julia Bulette.
Julia Bulette, yes, I am.
All right. And also, we just mentioned our exclusive fortune person, Sandy Lene. Now, I was going to do a little bit of a history on you. Are you still doing your Genoa Historic Ghost Tours?
Yes, I am. During the winter, it's always weather permitting, and it's been a very cold last 3-4 weeks. And so it's based on calling for reservations, and I haven't had any calls for reservations, so I think at 13 degrees, I'm not the only one who doesn't want to walk around town.
Well, that's smart. And Lisa, you mentioned you made these costumes.
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me a little bit about what these designs are?
Well, these are probably more of an 1870s silhouette.
A little slower, you can't move that fast.
I've been making historic period costumes for a very, very long time, and I try to work with what I have because they can become very elaborate and expensive as a result. You need to start with your undergarments and then work your way out because holding all of this up just doesn't happen by itself.
Now, what year is this period that you are making your costumes for?
These are right around 1870s. Our particular show should, in fact, the costuming should be pulled back just a little bit earlier based on the life and death of Julia Bulette. However, putting 3 women or even 2 women on stage in the Genoa Town Hall in what they would have actually been wearing at the time is really impossible. They would have had elliptical hoop skirts, which came out farther in the front than what I'm currently wearing and went out significantly farther.
You read my mind because that's what I was
back.
going to say. You're a little bit smaller than some of the bustles we've had in here before.
Yeah.
And they took out the whole gift store.
Right, and we actually are acting. We are acting and moving and up and down off the stage, and there's furniture and there's audience interaction. So it's important to have ourselves a little more contained.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful. I was remarking before we hit the tape
thank
that
you.
The jewelry is also fine as well.
Thank you very much. Now I use a lot of old pieces. I think details are very important when making exceptional costumes.
Well, at your store, can you buy things like this?
Yes, I do make things periodically for resale and put them in the store.
And that's located there? Where?
It's downtown Genoa, right next to our antique store between the Genoa Trading Company and the Masons Hall.
Excellent.
Thank
and
you.
the characters you're playing are, well, you can tell me.
I'm playing Eiley Bowers. Kim is playing Julia Bulette.
And tell me a little bit about your characters, because you both wrote this, didn't you?
Yes, the show was a collaboration for these two particular characters. Kim, I saw last winter playing the part of a gentleman, and she does it very, very well.
She was a gentleman?
Yeah. She was playing Warren Upson, a stage driver, and she did such a terrific job, and I thought, you know what, I really want to see her on stage as a woman. And I had been researching Eiley Bowers for some time, and I had performed it for a benefit for the Nevada State Museum. And so when I started researching, I realized these women knew each other.
Oh,
and
wow.
not only did they know each other, they didn't like each other. And what better basis for a show? So I started with an outline. Kim's a historian. We started collaborating, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's been this wonderful collaboration, and it's morphed into what we have now.
Well, that's awesome. You probably could work at the Genoa Historical Museum and kind of be in the mood right away.
Sure.
Yes.
I was going to say, sure. So you did a lot of research from that place, too, for your characters, or where did you go study all this?
You know, I have been, I've spent hours in the Nevada State Library. My husband is a historian. I've been into books and documents that he possesses. Kim and I have shared a lot of our research materials. There's really a wealth of information out there, and you had some pretty interesting developments in your research of your character as well.
Well, Kim, how did you get this dialogue down when you know these characters didn't like each other but happened to be in the same environment?
Well, through research, which was very important, we looked at what was going on at the time through journals that were written at the time by, for instance, Alf Doughton, who was the editor of the Gold Hill News, Territorial Enterprise, those sort of documents. People who knew Julia, people who knew Eiley, and the history of what was going on during the time period. And we started seeing where the two women would have run into each other on this occasion or that occasion. In the books that we read, there was also a reference to there was a time where Julia ended up at Eiley's mansion for a grand opening gala and was thrown out immediately.
That's what I was going to say. How could you end up at her mansion?
Yeah.
She'd be upset about that.
She absolutely was, and she threw me out. So that's how we started putting it together, and we did take some liberties because, with dialogue. And did they ever two meet as often as we're going to meet in the play? Perhaps not, but it was very well known that there were cutting remarks back and forth from these women that were, talking about each other.
Well, how do you turn getting kicked out of her mansion into a comedy?
Well,
was it by the hair, or?
Aside from coming to see the show,
yes,
it's a comedy drama because our interaction can be comical. Think of the Real Housewives of Orange County.
All right, I got you now.
Yeah, most people would get it right there. But then also our monologues. Through that, you get to hear the individual history of each woman and where she's coming from, how she's thinking, how she's reacting to her environment, and how people treat her. So there's the comedy drama, and we have a big surprise at the end.
Uh-oh.
And I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. So you need to get tickets and come.
Well, this is 2 acts too, so
It is. So there's an intermission in the middle, so people can go see the amazing Madam Sandy.
That's what I was just thinking. She's also going to be doing some fortune telling.
Absolutely.
And she's mentioned about your characters as well. Now, when did you all die? Because you do the historic ghost tours. I'm just wondering if the people actually knew each other in the next level.
They probably were able to stay well away from each other then.
Well, if they're mad about you guys in person, in the future, it'd really be upset.
Well, and actually, Eiley lived a long life. Do you want to tell them a little bit about when you died?
All right. I'd be happy to. Eiley lived until 1903.
Wow.
Yeah, she passed of old age, and she died at the King's Daughter's home in Oakland, and her remains were brought back here and placed up on the side of the hill with her husband, and her little girl Persia.
By here, where is here?
I'm sorry, Bowers Mansion
the Bowers
in
Mansion?
Washoe Valley. That was her house until she lost it. So no, she did live a very, very long life, much longer than Julia did.
I was saying earlier that my mom wanted to do a tour there, but there was just under construction. Have you been there recently?
I actually spent a good part of my youth growing up in Washoe Valley, and so I've been in and out of the mansion over the years, but I've not been there in the last 5 or 6 years. Anyway.
I just remember something about the Bowers having one of the most beautiful furniture collections from Europe in the whole region. Something like that.
Well, when Eily and her husband Sandy really struck it rich, they decided to go to Europe, see Queen Victoria. That was on Eily's list of things to do.
That's pretty major.
You know, check in with Eily's family in Scotland and purchase really beautiful, beautiful things for their home. And they were outrageously extravagant.
So when you had an affair, I mean, you know, a party, you really had the exclusive people show up. So how would she get in the door, or even try to? Was she jealous of you and just tried to crash the party, or did she have a ticket by accident, or?
I think that this is something we've had some discussion about. I think that, first of all, she had a great deal of audacity.
I would think so.
And a lot of spine. And she was running with men who were contemporaries of my husband.
Oh.
And so she thought she could just slither in there. And I just was not about to let that happen.
So you had your people throw her out?
I threw her out.
Oh, personally?
Yes.
Well, that's awesome.
Yes.
So you put all this together, and let's see, what's our dates again? February 1st and 2nd at 7 o'clock, and February 3rd at 2 o'clock?
Yes, that's right.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll meet the real Eily and Julia. Thank you very much.
So go away from me. I'm falling down on my knees. I can make it through somehow. I've been so gone away for weeks. I'm riding on ecstasy, and I want to forget the ground. So walk away from me before you glance on me. And I don't want this to be over now. Step through the soul, and you steal my heart.
I'm Julia Brunette. I'm going to be appearing in this fabulous production at the Genoa Town Hall on February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I thought you might like to come see me perform. February 1st and 2nd, evening shows, which are the best for me. They begin at 7 p.m. Then there's a matinee show on Sunday the 3rd that begins at 2.
This is Eily Bowers. It's an original comedy drama in 2 acts, and it benefits in part the town of Genoa. And I really think you should call me to get your tickets. 782-3893. I'll answer the phone.
Now, I really think you would get more service if you called me at 220-0605. I'm okay.
Sell through the soul, you steal my heart. Say goodbye to loneliness, and we're still worlds apart. And I think I'm blinded, but the light is showing me. And I keep persisting, thought of memory.
Hi, I'm here with Eily and Julia, and I'm really surprised that you're both in the same room together. I'm kind of shocked about it, but Eily, you said a while back you're trying to increase the class of the region, and Julia kind of brings that down a little bit at the balls, and you've actually tossed her out of one of your parties. Is this all true?
It's very true. It's very true. I am very much affected by the lack of society
Well,
in
you
the
certainly
community.
live in a nice mansion.
Thank you, thank you. We've worked very, very hard to build the mansion. It was always a dream of mine, and I got that.
Well, what things did you want to do to help the region get classy, as it were?
Well, I've sponsored a number of charitable events. I have encouraged McGuire's, which you probably know as Piper's Opera House.
Yes, that's a
to
beautiful
bring
place.
in some culture and entertainment of a higher sort. You see, much too often now, the entertainment that is there, it's nothing more than a dog and a bear pitted against each other, or cockfights, or just men fighting. You know, I would like to see Jenny Lind and other entertainers of the day.
Well, the Opera House is definitely beautiful. You did well.
Thank you. Yeah, the Opera House is a beautiful place. It should be utilized for culture and society.
We also have some very nice balls as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Julia seems to be showing up at your places. What's all this all about?
I find it very, very annoying. It seems that she's captured the attention of some of my husband's peers.
And yet you guys are going to have a conversation coming up February to talk about all this.
Best as we can.
So Julia, how you going to get along with her for an hour or so?
You know, Michael. Oh, by the way, when were you last in Virginia? I haven't seen you for a while.
Well, I've been being good.
Well, I know.
Don't tell my missus.
You see, I try not to turn my mind to that woman any more than I have to. She thinks she owns Virginia and the Piper's Opera House. Let me tell you, she does not. She is not the darling of Virginia that I am.
Ooh. Well, you've also done a lot of things for helping the community as well. Are you in competition with her for competing and for helping people, or?
She thinks that she has done so much for the community. I have never seen that woman working in the mines, down there helping the poor sick miners that come out of the mines when there's been injuries. I have never seen her side by side with any of the women on the row when they become ill or overdose on any of the drugs that they often have to take to face the day. And I have never, never, never seen her stand beside any of those firemen, working with them to put out a fire, one of the many fires that burn in that city. I stand side by side with them as an honorary member of Virginia Company Number 1. How much do you do for the city on a working level?
Perhaps I need to remind you that I was here first by a number of years, and I was doing their laundry, and I was cooking for them. I was feeding them. I was helping them honorably.
So that means that you must have been a domestic.
For perhaps for a brief period of time before I became the wealthiest woman in the country.
That's just it, Mrs. Bowers. You were not always coming from wealth and culture in society that you try to put airs upon that you know so much about. There's more to life on the Mount Davidson than society.
Well, I pretty much have it all now, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Pride covers a multitude of sins.
Well, this could be an entertaining play. They don't like each other.
Not very much, I'm saying that.
Well, when you live in a small community, you have to be around each other a little bit. You got training and taking care of the coal miners? That's awesome.
I just work with them in a nursing way, nurturing them when they are ill. I started that a long time ago when I lived in Weaverville and became acquainted with the sick and ill there. I became a nurse of sorts.
Yeah, that's
I have
awesome.
other skills, you know.
Well, I believe the doctor at the time, it was a female as well in Virginia City. So that's awesome. Also, you said you helped firemen. They let you do that?
They do. They consider me one of their own. In other ways than you're thinking.
I was being good.
Well, they let me work the brakes sometimes and sometimes the pump.
Well, what is the brakes?
The brakes, it makes sure that, well, I'm not quite sure.
Is that one of those
but they
things that
let
goes
me
like
work-
this? And
No, that's definitely the pump.
I was just making sure that it didn't go downhill because, Virginia
Well, I
City's
think
hilly.
the brake does have to do with that. Yes, it does.
I don't know. I thought maybe you had to rock and put it by the wheel or something.
No, it's a little bit more advanced than that.
Making sure it doesn't roll down those hills in Virginia City would be a bad thing.
Oh, it's very difficult, especially at night in the winter when it's icy. It's very hard to get those
Well,
horses to pull that up the hill.
I don't know how y'all survive the wind and the weather in Virginia City. It's very grand with your hairs and your hats, and you got your pins.
Well, we do pin our hats on to a degree, but there is this lovely little milliner shop, Miss Laura's, and I always go there for her hats because they're always originals. There's never a duplicate ever to be found on Virginia.
Well, Virginia hats are pretty nice. I see you have a big pin. Is yours pinned down as well? Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yes,
I think hers are pinned into her scalp, but don't say anything to her.
Ooh.
She probably can't feel it. That's what I mean.
No, mean is right.
Vulgarity is no substitution for wit.
She's just so full of those society remarks.
Well, I heard you threw her out of a party. What was that party that she tried to attend?
It was the grand opening, or not opening, it was a grand housewarming. We had come back from Europe, all of our beautiful possessions had arrived, some of the other millionaires, new millionaires were coming, and just very, very lavish food and entertainment, and buckets and buckets and buckets of champagne and oysters, lots and lots of wonderful food. And it was just to be our open house.
So you had all the food brought in from San Francisco and that
Oh,
type of thing?
yes. It was just a very, very luxurious event. And she actually showed up on the arm of a miner.
Oh, wow.
Like she thought I would want to mingle with her. Like she thought I would like to see her. I told you that there really was not much in the way of society in Virginia early on, and so I think there probably was more society amongst the miners and the doxies than there was among the upper levels.
Well, I go to Virginia City, I'd see a lot of bars. So how'd you confront all the society changes for the bars? So you have no choice and you're picking on poor her?
Well, yeah, Virginia was a very wild, very, very bad place. And there were many, many bad people there. And everyone carried guns. Everyone carried knives. And I believe that it was the job of the lettered gentlemen, the people who wrote the newspapers, the gentlemen who wrote the books. It was their responsibility to influence society. It was their job. And by golly, they weren't doing it. They were just as drunk as the rest of them.
You like Mark Twain?
Yes. Alf Doughton, Dan DeQuille, drunken sots, the whole lot of them.
You see what I mean, Michael? She just thinks she can walk in and change everything.
Well, was your clientele the upper echelon that might go to be her husband's friends, as it were?
Well, she does not like to admit this, but absolutely yes. I have risen a little bit above the other working girls.
So you had like a specialty business for the high-class person type thing?
Well, I just knew some of the finer people, and they chose to attend society events with me because I knew how to behave in a cultured manner. I had been schooled. I could carry on conversations about current events.
Well, where were you schooled at?
I was schooled at New Orleans. That's where I left when I was 16 with my Uncle Jules. I went to New Orleans. And I learned how to talk to a gentleman in a genteel way about important things. That is why I could carry on an intelligent conversation.
Because your uncle, who was a pimp, trained you?
My Uncle Jules
The family
was
Jules?
into well, that's the name of a very good book. If you want to pick it up, I'll tell you where to get it.
I would like that.
But my Uncle Jules was an entrepreneur.
Oh, so that's what you call it now. Ah, very good, very good.
You see what I mean?
that.
So you moved to Virginia City around 16 years old?
No. I had a lot of curves and bends in the road along the way to Virginia City.
I think she
Oh,
means
wow.
experience.
But did you end up with your own house in Virginia City?
I did. I had my own house. I did not have to work for anyone.
Excellent.
I had my own house. I could choose my own clientele. I could choose where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. I actually experienced a lot more society than some of those old birds up on A Street in their gilded cages.
Well, did you have women who worked for you as well?
No, I did not.
You were
need
by
to.
yourself?
I was by myself. I was self-employed. Another
A
thing
go-getter.
to be proud of.
So you
A
made your own
go-getter,
hours?
they came, got me. It didn't matter.
So you're out there helping the firemen, you're helping the coal miners, you're helping the children, and she still complains about you.
She complains every time she gets. You know what it is, Michael? It's just plain jealousy. She is pea green with envy.
Well, Eiley sounds like she's had a hard time growing up and is trying to share the benefits of her wealth with the society.
She just needs to get over it.
Well, we're down to our last minute. Could you give out the times of the play when you're going to have your discussion?
Well, actually, if you want to come see us perform together, our play is February 1st and 2nd at 7 p.m. There is a cocktail hour before. And if you need to come to a matinee, then you can come on Sunday at 2 o'clock. The cocktail hour will then be at 1. It is at the Genoa Town Hall. You can purchase tickets in the Genoa Town Hall, Genoa Town office, or at Sweet Repeats, or at Genoa Trading Company. Or you can call a lovely woman by the name of Kim Copel, and her number is 2200605. Or you can also call a very talented woman by the name of Lisa Bommarito, and her number, do you know what it is, Eiley? You seem to know everything else up here in Virginia.
782-3893.
Well, Eiley, thank you for being on the Bad Trails. Julia,
Oh,
thank you.
enchanté.
Pleasure.
Come see the play. You're going to have a good time. It's Michael Smith reporting from Nevada Trails. Thank you.